Hi, thanks for joining us for our class today. So for today's class, we're going to work on quite a lot of glute strength and hip control with our exercises today. So I hope you enjoy the class and we'll get started. So we're just going to start with a little warm up in sitting. So sitting either with our legs crossed or legs out in front, whatever's more comfortable. Make sure that weight's going down evenly through your sitting bones. Just to begin with, make sure those shoulders are nice and relaxed if you had a stressful day. Those ribs are nice and soft, that neck's nice and long and lifted. So imagine you've got that little balloon just lifting up through the crown of that head there. So that chin's just tucked in slightly. So we're going to float our hands up to that shoulder height position. Take a breath in here. As you breathe out, we're going to reach our arms up and out into that Y stretch. Breath in. As you breathe out, coming back down. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, reaching up and out. Breath in. As you breathe out, floating back down. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, reaching up and away. Breath in. As you breathe out, floating down. Now make sure those ribs aren't flaring as you're lifting the arms up, keeping that neutral position, making sure they're staying soft. So lifting up, opening out, breath in. As you breathe out, floating back down. Good. And again, reaching up and out. Breath in and out. Good. And again, reaching those arms up and out. Breath in here and out. Good. One more time. Breath in as you reach out. Opening out. Breath in and floating back down. Lovely. And relaxing those arms. Good. Just relaxing those shoulders. So it's going to do a little chest opening from here. So elbows into your side, neck staying nice and long. Chin still tucked in, that neck nice and long. So breath in here. As you breathe out, open these hands, squeezing the shoulder blades gently back. And then folding back in. Good. So my neck staying nice and long, shoulders shouldn't be lifting. Just opening out through that chest, squeezing those shoulder blades gently back and coming back forwards. Good. And again, opening out, squeezing gently back and then coming forwards. Good. Opening out, squeezing the shoulder blades and then back to that start. Good. Opening out and back to that center. Good. Now from here on this next one, we're going to go into our Cleopatra. So we're going to open out, reach those arms away, turn the palms down, palms up and floating back. Good. And again, opening out, reaching away, palms down, palms up and coming back. Good. And again, opening out, reaching away, palms down, palms up and then back in. Lovely. We'll just do last couple here. Opening out, reaching away, palms down, palms up and folding back. Good. Last one here. Opening out, reach away, palms down, palms up, and then folding back in. Lovely. And then just relax those arms back down. Good. Okay, so we're going to stretch out through our sides now. So just dropping one hand down by your side, we do our mermaid stretch. Breath in here. As you breathe out, we're going to reach the arm up and over. Breath in. As you breathe out, coming back to that center. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, reaching the arm up and over. Breath in here. As you breathe out, back to that center. Very good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, reaching over. Breath in here. As you breathe out, back to that center. Lovely. One more time. Reaching over. Breath in here. As you breathe out, coming back to that center and relaxing those shoulders back down. Very good. Okay, so if you've got a thicker block or a little pillow at home, you can use to support your head. We're going to come down onto our side just to start working those glute muscles a little bit here. So coming down onto your side, you can just have that block just under your head here or a thinner one, whatever's more comfortable, just to support your head in this position. So feet and hips should be roughly in that line. So those hips are really stacked on top of each other. Now if you drop that top waist down, we're going to feel that underneath waist just lift slightly underneath you here. Imagine you've got a little grape there you don't want to squash, keeping that lifted throughout this movement. So we're going to do a clam from here. So pushing those heels together, we're going to lift up that top knee and lower the knee back down. So lifting and then lowering. Really watching for, as you lift up that top knee, we don't let those hips roll back. They're staying really stacked on top of each other as we lift and lower through this top leg. Well done. So lifting that top knee, lowering back down. And again, lift that top knee and lowering. Keeping those hips stacked as we lift and lower through that top leg. Well done. Keeping that control as we lift and lower from here. Well done. So keeping those hips stacked. Want to feel it in that back pocket side area. If you don't, you might need to bend or straighten your legs just a little bit from there. Good. So keeping that control, lifting and lowering. Well done. Now, if that's feeling comfortable, then we can raise our feet up to that hip height position, lift up that top knee and lower back down. Good, so keeping that hip control as we're lifting and lowering. All done. Keeping those hips stacked. Just going that little bit further through that range, still working in that side back pocket area. If it feels too much with those feet raised, then just go back to those feet lowered onto the ground. Well done. Good. Let's do one more here with these feet raised, and then we're going to lower the feet back down, keeping those hips stacked. We're going to lift and lower through that top knee. Well done. Lifting and lowering, keeping those hips stacked as we lift and lower through that leg. Well done. Last few here, lifting and lowering. Good. Let's do one last one and lower that leg down. Well done. Drop that leg in front, give that muscle a little rub. Have a little stretch out here. Now while we're resting this top leg for a second, we can lengthen that lower leg and just do a few little pulses of that inner thigh if you can, or just have a rest with that top leg. So just breathing in and out. As you're breathing in and out, keeping that body nice and upper body nice and relaxed, and we're just pulsing through that lower leg. Good. So breathing in and out, pulsing that lower leg from here. Good. Pulsing that leg, breathing in and out as we pulse that leg here. Good. Breathing in and out. And again, breath in and out. And then lower that leg back down. Well done. Okay, so we're going to just bend that lower leg back up and straighten this top leg, keeping those hips stacked on top of each other. We're going to do a side kick movement. So we're lifting that top leg just to that hip height position, and we're going to glide this leg forwards and then gliding that leg back. All the while keeping that leg at that hip height level to really challenge these glute muscles. It's really working those glute muscles to keep that leg in that hip height position. If you want to challenge that stability a little bit more, we can straighten that lower leg and glide that leg forwards and back. So it's a little bit more tricky. You might not go quite as far forwards and back, and you might want to have that hand just resting in front for a little bit of balance if you want to, as we glide the leg forwards and gliding it back, keeping that leg at that hip height. Now if you can, we're going to point the toes to glide that leg forward and flex the foot to glide it back. Point the toes to glide forward, flex the foot to glide back. Keeping that control, gliding forwards, gliding back, all the while remember keeping that leg in that hip height position. Upper body nice and balanced. If it's too tricky with the leg straight, then just bend that lower leg just for a little bit more stability. Good, so gliding forwards, gliding back, keeping that control. Well done. Glide forwards, last few here, really challenging that endurance of those glute muscles, keeping that leg at that hip height position. So if it's getting too close to the other leg, just make sure it's not drifted too close to the ground. Good. Glide forwards, glide back. Well done. And again, glide forwards, glide back. Good. Last few here. Gliding forwards, gliding back. And one last time. Glide forwards and glide back. Well done. And then back to that centre. Lower that leg back down. Well done. Bend those knees up. That muscle a little rub. Very good. Okay, so we'll drop that block down. And we're going to come round onto our backs now, just to work a little bit more from here. So if you come round and down onto your back, feet and knees that hip width distance apart. Just make sure you're tilting that pelvis forwards and back. Just looking to find that midpoint between those two movements. So our pelvis in that nice neutral position. That core's gently engaged, those ribs are soft, collarbones nice and wide, and that neck's nice and long and lifted as well. So relax those arms down by your side, and we're going to go into a bridge movement. Your feet should be tucked up a little bit towards your bottom so you don't get cramp with this exercise in your hamstrings. So breath in, as you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, lifting up into that bridge. Take a breath in here. As you breathe out, slowly peeling that spine back down onto the mat. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, lifting up into that bridge, breath in here. As you breathe out, peeling slowly back down. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, lifting up, breath in here. As you breathe out, just walking that spine slowly back down onto the mat. Good. Breath in. As you breathe out, tucking under, lifting up, breath in. As you breathe out, peeling back down onto the mat. Good, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking under, using those bottom muscles, lifting up into that bridge, keeping that pelvis nice and level as you're lifted. Breath in here. As you breathe out, slowly walking back down onto the mat. Good, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, lifting up into that bridge. Breath in here. As you breathe out, again, walking that spine slowly back down, keeping those bottom muscles engaged as you come up and down. Good. So we're going to do a few more here, lifting and lowering back down. Very good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, lifting up into that bridge. Breath in here. As you breathe out, slowly peeling back down onto the mat. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, lifting up into that bridge. Breath in here. As you breathe out, slowly peeling back down onto the mat. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, coming up into that bridge. Breath in here. As you breathe out, walking that spine slowly back down. Really good. Just let's do last few. Tucking that pelvis under, lifting up, using those bottom muscles, keeping that pelvis nice and level. Well done. Breath in. As you breathe out, slowly peeling back down. Well done. Let's just do one last one here. So tucking that pelvis under, lifting up, breath in here. As you breathe out, slowly walking that spine back down onto the mat. Good. And let's bring those knees in one at a time, just having a nice hug and stretching out through that lower back here. Good. So just breathing in and out. On that out breath, if you can, just sink down into that stretch just that little bit further if you can. Good. So breath in and out, sinking down just that little bit further if you can. Well done. Very good. So let's lower those legs back down one at a time. Come back into that start position. So making sure we're still in that neutral spine, I'm going to do a one leg circle from here. So we're going to float one leg up into single tabletop position. Now either keeping it here, imagine you've got a pencil on the end of your knee, and we're going to circle around coming from that hip movement. So it's the hip that should be moving, circling around from here, controlling that movement. So either keeping here, or if you want to, we can challenge it a little bit further and straighten that leg and come round in a circle. But the circle should just be as big as you feel you can control. Okay, so coming around from here, keeping the control of that movement as you're circling that foot around. Good, so really drawing that circle on the ceiling, or something resembling a circle if you can, onto the ceiling with those toes. But all that movement should be coming from that pelvis. That pelvis staying nice and level, not too much movement happening from there. Okay, let's change direction, so coming round in that circle. Good, keeping that control, circling around, breathing in and out, not holding your breath, so we're going in that opposite direction now, keeping that control as you're circling that leg around. Well done, breathing in and out, controlling that movement around. Good. Well done, last few here. And one more circle around, coming back to that centre, lowering that leg back down. Well done. We do the same on the opposite side. So opposite leg coming into that tabletop position. Imagine you've got that pencil on the end of your knee. We're going to come round in that circle, controlling that movement, circling around from here, keeping that control. Good. Now either keeping that knee bent, or if you want to challenge it a little bit further, you can straighten the leg. Either way, we're drawing that circle on the ceiling, either with the knee or those toes. But the movement's all coming from that hip joint. Now that circle can be as big as you feel you can control that movement, okay? So not too big to have too much rotation through that pelvis. So keeping that nice and stable. The other leg should be staying nice and still as well. And we're breathing in and out as we're controlling this movement around. Well done. Okay, now let's change direction on this side. So again, breathing in and out, keeping that control. That circle's just as big as you feel you can control that movement without too much excessive movement through that pelvis. Keeping that nice and level, those hip bones pointing up forwards. Good. Last few here. Good. And one last one. Back to that centre, and then lowering those legs back down from there. Very good, well done. Okay, so feet and knees back to that hip width distance apart. Make sure our hip bone's pointing up towards the ceiling. And we're going to do what we call a hip twist movement. Now, what we're really watching for, again, is not that excessive rotation through that pelvis. So hip bone's pointing up to the ceiling. And just to start, we're going to let one leg fall out to the side, just as far as you've got that control. And then use those toe muscles to come back to that centre. We're going to alternate sides, so opposite leg coming out to that side, and then coming back. Now, all the while keeping those hip bones pointing up to the ceiling. So imagine you've got those headlights on those hip bones, keeping those lights pointing up and forwards, not letting them turn or rotate to the side. Good. So you have your fingers on those hip bones if that helps, just to give you that little bit of feedback to what's happening there. So bring the leg out to the side, using the thigh muscles to come back to the centre. Good. So we're just opening out through that hip, keeping that control as you bring the leg out to the side and then back up. Now, if that feels comfortable here, then we can bring one leg up into that single tabletop position and do the same again. Bring the leg out to the side, back to the centre, and lower down, opposite leg lifted. So we're opening out through that leg that's lifted, but still keeping those hip bones pointing up to the ceiling from here. Good. So just keeping that control. Well done. Now, if you want to challenge it that little bit further, just drawing those rib cages down, we can bring both legs up into double tabletop and do the same again. Bring the leg out to the side, opening out side to side from here, keeping that control, one at a time. Good. So again, hip bones still pointing up to the ceiling. Imagine you've got those headlights. Well done. We're just opening out side to side from here, keeping that control. Well done. So breathing out to bring that leg out to the side, breathe in to fold back if you can. But just make sure you're not holding your breath, keeping that control. Breathing out as the leg goes out, breathe in to fold back. Very good. We'll just do last few here. Coming back to that centre. Well done. Let's do one last one each side. Back to that centre. And then lowering those legs back down one at a time if they're lifted, back to that start. Very good. Okay, so let's just do a little bit of rotation movement, a bit of control around the tummy as well. So we're going to arms down by your side or out to the side of you, so we know you've got room at home. We're going to drop those knees over to one side, turn your head to the opposite side if you can, then use those thigh muscles to bring the knees back up to that centre, then over to that opposite side. So again, use those toe muscles, bring the knees back up to that centre, then over to that opposite side. Good, so just opening out, dropping those knees over side to side from here. Good. Coming back up, dropping over, rotating that head to the opposite side. So just opening out through that spine, use those toe muscles to bring the knees back to that centre, then over to that opposite side. So we're just opening out side to side from here. Good. Just rotating through that movement. Dropping those knees over, using those toe muscles coming back to that centre, then over to that opposite side. Well done. Just do last few here. Using the toe muscles coming back to that centre, then over to that opposite side. Well done. And back to that centre. Well done. One last time. Dropping those knees over, using those toe muscles back to that centre, and then over to that opposite side. Good, and then coming back to the centre there, arms back down by your side. Very good. Okay, so we're going to come round. If you've been using that thicker block, we're going to come round onto the opposite side just to even those bottom muscles out. So if you come round, bring that block or pillow, towel, whatever you've been using at home. So just coming down onto your side here. Okay, so just supporting your head with that block. Feet and hips are roughly in that line, so those hips are really stacked on top of each other here. So as we said before, we're going to drop that top waist down so we feel that underneath waist just lift slightly underneath you here. Imagine you've got a little grape under there, we don't want to squash. We're going to keep that lifted through that waist. So make sure those feet are together, hips are staying really stacked so they don't roll back in this movement. Core gently engaged. We're going to push the top knee up and then lower. So lifting up through that top knee and then lowering back down. Now keeping those hips really stacked on top of each other as we lift and lower through that top knee. Keep those hips stacked and we lift and lower from here. Well done. Keeping those hips stacked as you lift and lower. Well done. Not letting those hips roll or rotate, keeping them stacked. Make sure you haven't squashed your grape, keeping that waist lifted. Well done. So lifting and lowering. Now we want to feel it in that back pocket side area here. If you don't, you might just need to bend or straighten your legs up a little bit. So sometimes just adjusting that position, just getting it in that right place. Good. So keeping those hips stacked as we're lifting and lowering through that top knee. Well done. Lifting and lowering. Good. Now we can either stay here at this level if that feels comfortable, or we can raise those feet up to hip height from here, and we're going to lift and lower a little bit further into that movement from here. Good. So lifting that top knee, lowering back down. Well done. Keeping those hips stacked, just going that little bit further through that range as we lift and lower from here. Well done. Good. Keeping those hips stacked as we lift and lower. Last few here if those feet are raised. Good. I'll do one more here if those feet are raised. Lowering that knee back down. Lower those feet down. We'll do last few together. Lifting and lowering that top knee again from here. Keeping those hips stacked as we lift and lower. Well done. Good. Keep those hips stacked. Make sure you haven't lost that grape or squashed it. That's it. Keeping that lifted. Good. Last few. Good. Let's do one last one. And then lower that leg back down. Well done. Give that muscle a rub. Drop that leg in front. Have a little stretch out here. So I leave that top leg just stretching, have a rest for a minute. While we're doing that, if you want to, either just rest here, or we can do a few little pulses of that inner thigh. So breathing in and out as we're pulsing that inner leg. Shoulders relaxed. No tension through that upper body. Keeping that core still engaged, that upper body staying nice and still as we're pulsing through the leg here. Breathing in and out. Good. And again, breath in and out. Good. Just keeping that control. Last few here, just still breathing in and out. Well done. Good. And out. Well done. Breath in and out. And then relax that leg back down. Well done. So bend that lower leg back up. This time, as we did before, we're going to stretch out that top leg. And we're going to do that side kick movement. So keeping that top leg at that hip height position, we're going to glide the leg forwards and then gliding it back. Keeping that leg at that hip height, really challenging those glute muscles to keep that leg in that hip height position. Nice and stable through that pelvis, those hips staying really stacked on top of each other. So either keeping that knee bent for a little bit more stability, or if you want to, we can straighten that top leg and then glide that leg forwards and back from here, all the while keeping that leg at that hip height position. You can have that hand in front for a little bit of balance if you need to, but try not to push through that hand too much. That pelvis staying nice and steady, nice and controlled as you glide forwards and glide back. Keep the control here, gliding that leg forwards, gliding back. Well done. Good. So really challenging those glute muscles to keep that leg at that hip height position as you glide forwards and then glide back. Gliding forwards, gliding back. Well done. Now if you can, we're going to point the toes to glide forward, flex the foot to glide back. So a little bit of movement through that ankle. Keeping that control, make sure that leg hasn't dropped down, staying at that hip height level as you're gliding forwards and gliding back. Well done. Last few here. Glide that leg forwards, gliding back. If you need to bend that lower leg for a little bit more stability, then do. So gliding forwards, gliding back. Well done. Keeping that control. Last few, well done. Glide forwards, gliding back. Well done. And let's do one more here. Glide forwards, gliding back, and then coming back to that center and lower that leg back down. Well done. Bend those knees up. Give that muscle a little rub. Very good. Okay, so let's come up into our sitting position, and we're going to stretch out our glutes a little bit that we've worked quite hard today. So in sitting, just have one leg just stretched out in front from here. Then we're going to bring the opposite leg just over across to you from there. Now from here we can just stretch out these bottom muscles by just turning to that side, and you'll just feel that stretch through that bottom here. There are other ways to stretch your glutes. If you don't like this, you can do it on your back as well, as we do in our other classes. So just turning around to that side, so you just add that little bit of rotation just to where you feel that stretch through that bottom muscle. And we're going to hold this here. So again, just breathing in and out, just nice and gently. Breath in and out. Just sinking down into that stretch just a little bit further if you can. So just holding that there, breathing in and out, just relaxing down into that stretch. And often after about 10 seconds, that stretch eases off slightly. For some people, not always if it's quite tight, but breathing in and out. Good. And then coming back round to that centre. We'll do the same on the opposite side, so opposite leg coming across. Just use that hand just to support that leg there, and just coming around, just rotating around that body, just to feel that stretch into that bottom there. So holding this, breath in and out. Just relaxing down into that stretch, breathing in and out here. Holding that stretch. Just no tension through the upper body, just holding that little bit of stretch here as we're keeping that rotation through that body. Breathing in and out. And just holding that stretch, sinking down that little bit further. As before, it might ease off after that sort of 10 seconds as you're holding that stretch. Well done. Just a few more seconds here. Good. And then slowly coming back round to that centre and bring those legs back in front. Good. Now just sitting here if you can, just sit up nice and tall. Just going to do a couple of roll down movements. So breath in. As you breathe out, just tucking that chin down, just rolling slowly those hands down to slowly just restacking and back up. So you feel a little bit of a stretch through the back of the leg there. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that chin down, just rolling those hands slowly down towards those feet. Breath in. As you breathe out, slowly restacking back up into that seated position. One last time, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that chin down, rolling, curling down through that spine, down to where you're comfortable. Breath in. As you breathe out, just slowly restacking back into sitting. Very good, and relax those shoulders. Now if you bring those knees bent, we're just going to stretch out into our sides a little bit, so nice and evenly going through those sitting bones that way. Breath in here. As you breathe out, we're just going to reach up and over. Breath in here, and as you breathe out, moving back up to that centre. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, reaching that arm over. Breath in here. As you breathe out, back up to that centre. Very good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, reaching that arm over. Breath in here. As you breathe out, back up to that centre. One last time. Dropping that arm over. Breath in here. As you breathe out, and back up to that centre. And just relaxing those shoulders, a few shoulder rolls here to relax back down. Fantastic. Hope you've enjoyed the class today. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully see you next time for one of our classes.